Hey, it's been a while since I've been gotten a chance to respond to AJ's statements. Uh, One, it was 16 minutes, and well, he got church camp, mission trip, vacation Bible school, plus all sorts of stuff that you just kind of go, okay, what's more important? Sitting down on the computer and recording a 8-minute thing that 3 people are reading or listening to, or doing your job. So I went with doing my job for the first time. Uh, it was a couple of things. On the fun side, it's interesting listening to you talk about how Deadpool theologically works for you. The only issue I have, and this is an issue I have with anybody who chooses, when we choose to work within the superheroes and we talk about them and we try to relate theologically with them, it's that they are created characters in which each character is designed to do something. What's fascinating with characters like Superman and Batman, although Batman wasn't originally like this, Batman was originally more like Deadpool in the sense that he would kill without regard or maim without thinking of repercussions, but then the comics transitioned into a more child-friendly thing, focusing more on children and families. Hence why in the 60s you had the Adam West campy style Batman, which was still actually quite good. And the introduction of Robin, who was the sidekick. And much like in Captain America, Bucky's introduced as the sidekick who makes fun of the Red Skull and all this. My issue is when we choose characters and we focus on characters, those characters have certain flaws that, while they're good flaws for the character, theologically they don't work for us. Green Lantern works up to an extent, and that extent is when they've decided that they would give the power ring the power to kill. Before, if a Green Lantern used their power ring to try to kill or take a life, the power ring would shut down, and they would lose use of that ring. Likewise, Batman holds an ethics that there's a line. He can hurt somebody, he can threaten, and he can scare them, but he can't take their life. And that's the line. That's the line he can't cross. And that's, in The Dark Knight, that's the line Joker knows that he can't cross and won't cross, and he keeps pushing him to cross it. You know, what are you willing to do? And Superman, same thing. Superman does not take a life. Or if either one takes a life, it's by accident, and it comes with deep, deep regret. And that's my issue with when we use characters like Deadpool, Wolverine, any character who, Punisher, any character who does not, in a sense, value life and the life of their enemy. And that's the only issue I have regarding that. It's just, we got to be careful not to choose killers as those who represent us, and Deadpool is a character, is a killer. That's who he is. And he said, was interesting, he said that you go back and, like Deadpool, you get paid to do a certain thing, and you get paid to do one thing, and then all of a sudden you're paid to do something else. Well, to what extent does that go? And does your ethics, does the Christian ethics that we as ministers abide by, are those ethics interchangeable, and are those ethics really something that can be compromised? One minute you're working for, who'd you say, Norman Osborn, and then the next minute you're trying to kill Norman Osborn. Well, so my question then, just for fun, is, so one minute you're working for the church, and then the next minute you're trying to kill the church, if you're paid to do such? So those are my issues when we choose characters. Now there are aspects of Green Lantern, Batman, and Superman, and others that I find have great theological implications, and then but they only go to limitation. The best character I think a minister can properly relate to is Alfred Pennyworth, Batman's butler. He upholds to what Kierkegaard calls knights of faith. He has tangible things that he does. He is bound by honor to the Wayne family, much like ministers are bound to their church, or bound to those they serve. And then he enacts love and compassion, kindness, and he helps Batman. He has dedicated his life to Batman and to the Wayne family. And so my argument is that perhaps he and those like him are the ones who we should be more theologically aligned to, because those represent more of the servant attitude that we are called to have, and represent more Christ-like than anything else. Alfred serves Batman, and he doesn't always agree with Batman, and he reprimands Batman, but he loves Batman unconditionally. And it's that unconditional love that makes that love for his other humans that makes Alfred's ethics higher than Batman's. And that's a short little thing I'm rushing through here. The next thing you brought up was meaning, and I think that's a question not just about Vacation Bible School, but meaning to what it is the Christian does. Right now, I don't think Christians have a lot of meaning to what they do. I think a lot go to church, they argue about what church they should go to. Should it be, you Google terms like emerging, emergent, they claim the two words are separate. I argue that they're not, but whatever. Those who believe the idea of the gospel, you present the four gospels and they say, no, those aren't the gospels, Romans is the gospel, or yes, that's the gospel, but you're not preaching it right. The two sides of that coin arguing at one another as to which side is the right side. But it comes back to the meaning, and I think that's what gets lost. I'm not entirely sure what I'm saying here. I'm exhausted from just getting... I'm running on fumes right now, which means I'm pretty delirious. The meaning, I think, for Christians has been lost in the sense that we just do things to do them. We do Vacation Bible School because it's what we do. We do mission trips because that's what we do. We do camp because that's what we do. We sit in our office, we visit people because that's what we do. And that's what we get paid to do. That's what we're required to do. That's what we're asked to do. But the question is, what's the meaning behind it all? And I think that's something that needs to be explored in our churches, is why are we doing the things we are doing? Are we doing them because that's tradition? That's what we've always done? And that's fine. There are certain traditions that are good. Samuel Wells says there are givens of the church. And he argues that there's one given of the church, and that is the narrative story of Christ. The Christ narrative. The rest are gifts. So in that idea, we have operated that Vacation Bible School, camp, mission trip, high attendance Sundays, things like that are givens, when actually they're gifts. They're gifts that we have the choice of how we do and how we use. Like I said, I'm rambling at this point, and I don't think this post is making much sense. I've spoken for 9.5. We're going on 10 minutes, so if I can sum it all up in the next 30 seconds. 1, we gotta be careful with who we choose as comic books that we identify with, because there are aspects and weaknesses of those comic books that do not uphold to the Christ standard or to our ethics. And 2, going back to ethics, what is our meaning? What is our Christian meaning? So that said, what I'd like to talk about next go around, and I'll post this up probably later today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, is talk about ethics, in the sense the minister's ethics and the Christian ethics and the church ethics. Until then, word to your mother. I don't want to sign off like that. AJ's got later days. Later days. What? I think I should just sign off the only way I know how. If you smell what the Rock is cooking. No, that can't work. Sign off. YouTube high five!